Hello, hello, everybody. Welcome in, my friends. We are so excited to have you here. Please let us know where you're calling in from. We love to see Kartra has such a worldwide crowd, and myself and Jessica are big worldwide travelers, so we love to see where you're calling in from. Jessica's a big foodie, actually, so if you have a favorite food from where you're from, she needs to go try it. But yeah, we're so excited, my friends. My name is Grant Williams. I'm the community manager here at Kartra, and we are so thrilled to have you here. Get ready to discover how to organize your Kartra account with maximum ease and flow so that you can scale your business to six figures in no time. We put these events on every month to provide you with expert knowledge and tips from Kartra's top experts, and that not only help you to learn the power of Kartra, but teach you key skills to master and grow your business. All previous from Novice to Ninja and our other series called Learn Kartra Live events can be found in our on-demand video knowledge base at support.kartra.com. So check them out if you haven't already. You can just search for on-demand video once you're in that support portal. We will also have a Q&A throughout this presentation, so feel free to drop your questions in the chat. And a replay will be available as soon as we wrap up today, so do check your email for that. But before we get started, I wanted to introduce our amazing guest, Jessica Scotten. Jessica has been using Kartra since its very first beta mode in 2018, so she is an OG there. Soon after, she was invited to be a Kartra top expert by one of Kartra's board of directors, who quickly recognized her talent and unique eye for creating not only visually appealing sites that married form and function, but profitable online systems that allowed users to work smarter and rely on automated systems to reduce many of the manual tasks in their day-to-day business marketing. Jessica credits her own success to the power of community, connection, and helping others. She states that participation, showing up and being an active participant in Kartra's online community was foundational to her success, and without that, she wouldn't be where she is today. Jessica is a featured Kartra certified partner, a repeat Kartra community member of the month, a Funnel Gorgeous certified master marketer, and she has been featured on numerous business and marketing podcasts, such as Flip Your Marketing Flops, Superwoman Soul, VA Tips, Tricks, and Advice, and The Style Mind, and was a top 10 Launch Gorgeous participant for spring 2022. So obviously we're in super good hands. We're so excited to have Jessica teach us how to organize your Kartra workflows. And without further ado, I will pass it to Jessica.
Hi, everybody. Thanks so much for having me. I see so many familiar names in different places in here. I am checking in from South Florida this afternoon, but all the fun places showing up in the chat. I am so excited to share with you 8 organizational strategies for organizing your Kartra workflows. Like Grant mentioned, I've been using Kartra since it was in its beta, and these are practices that I've started using in my own account and have instilled in client accounts since I've been doing this. Today, I'm going to give you access to Get Kartra Organized, my mini course on organization that has the strategies and examples that I'm going to share here today, so you don't have to furiously take notes, because I know how quickly I speak and I know how important all of this information is to you. My goals today are to inspire you to have an organized, easy to find assets that are easy to manage inside your Kartra account. But before we get started into organization, I am going to present to you 3 rules for organization. I know going into this journey, there can be a lot of overwhelm. So I want to establish these as your foundation to give you some guidance in going into organization. And number 1 is I want you to think of future you. And future you refers to the you 3 months from now, a year from now, someone that you hire in the future to step into your business to act as an expert or an administrative assistant. And you want those people to be able to easily find and easily understand what your assets are and what their function is. I want future you to thank past you for setting you up for the most possible success that you can have. The second rule is take the minute. And I know when we're building that it's just in a mindset of get it done and get it completed. You're bringing in files, you're bringing in photos, and you don't want to take the minute to organize it properly, to give it a proper name that follows your naming convention, or to put it in the category that it belongs. But I strongly encourage you to stop and take a minute and put that thing where it belongs, because future you will thank past you for setting yourself up for the most success. And possibly the most important rule when going into things is that you do not have to go backwards. You do not have to go into pages and pages of images to rename them and put them into categories. You do not have to go back and rename pages or tags. But if you do spend the time and go through and look for assets for tags and you're like, ooh, this took me a long time to find, go back to number 2, stop, take a minute, name the asset so future you doesn't have to spend as much time as current you did to find that. All right. All of that said, let me introduce you to the prefix system. Now, I wish this had a sexier, more marketable name, but what I have is the prefix system. And the prefix system allows us to utilize limited space. Most things that you'll name in Kartra are limited to 40 characters. And if you're anything like me, you spend that space quicker than anything. And then all of a sudden you're like, wow, I've run out of space. So using a prefix system allows us to really utilize the limited real estate that we have in the names of our assets. It also allows you to be more descriptive. And it allows us to easily find what you're looking for without spinning your wheels and without saying, now, what did I do here? But what is a prefix? A prefix is going to be a 2 to 5 character short code that takes up way less space to convey what's needed to on that asset. And you're already familiar with this. Cities use this because New York City very quickly becomes NYC. The Postal Service abbreviates states this way too, by turning Colorado into CO. It's also pretty popular in Taylor Swift song titles. And for me, I see it most frequently in airport codes, because every single one of these that I just put on the screen, you know exactly what that is without even having to take a second thought. And that's what your prefixes will become in your world. So let's take a look at a couple examples. The Novice to Ninja event that Kartra runs, that you're here with us in its first, Grant, we've been doing these for a year, haven't we? The Novice to Ninja events could become, in Kartra's organization system, NTN for Novice to Ninja. The Kartra Training Academy, the training portal within Kartra, can be shortened to KTA. The gift that you're getting for hanging out with me is called Get Kartra Organized. Internally in my system, I call this GKO. And sometimes you make a really great name for a program that's called the Winning Traffic Formula, and we might not want to use those first letters, so we just call it the WIN program. And there is a recipe that I've been using to instill this in accounts. First, we start with the prefix, and the prefix goes first, always. Second, we include any details that allow us to know what it is. And third, if you need more information, you can include a description. And if you need a date, include the date at the end. So when we put it all together, we go from prefix to details to description to date. And we have to do this all under 40 characters. Now, I want to make a note here. When naming assets, that I prefer visually to keep a dash with spaces on each side in my description, in my naming of things, but a space does count as a character. The search and everything still works if you use spaces, dashes, or underscores within your naming convention. So if you're short on space and your spaces are taking up a lot of space, you don't have to use them. So let's talk about a couple use cases here. If we were naming our tags and it was for the organization event that Novice to Ninja was running, we would call this NTN. We'd use organization. Our description here is registered, and then we included the date. I prefer to use my dates in year first, then month, then date. So if I'm looking at dates in an organized fashion, they all line up from newest to oldest at the bottom. In sequences, we're going to call this KTA, Welcome New Students. I know just by looking at this sequence is for the Kartra Training Academy, and it's our welcome sequence for new students coming into that program. And then I do this for broadcasts too. This is a Novice to Ninja for the organization event. This is the replay ready email that Kartra may send. Now, I made up an arbitrary date here of July 25th. Grant will send this out when this replay is ready. I do this for images too. Novice to Ninja, organization, and this is the promo graphic. I know by these few words here that I know exactly what this is, and I know that future me is going to know what this is, as well as anybody else that comes into my team. If you're running lots of different options in your account, I always recommend keeping a record of your prefix sheet. The prefix sheet is included with your Get Kartra Organized access that'll be sent out that Kira has the link for. All of this to go in and say, why is this so important? And it becomes the question of, if you're scaling in your business, you really need to be able to find your assets and your resources quickly without spinning your wheels. On most assets within your Kartra account, your assets are displayed with the newest at the top and the oldest at the bottom. And what this likely means is that that very first sales page that you created to sell your very first thing, that could be pages down on your page list. We see this in pages with your newest asset, your newest page created displaying at the top and your oldest all the way down at the bottom. We see it in sequences where your newest sequence is at the top and your oldest is at the bottom. So likely that welcome sequence that you created when you were brand new in Kartra is a couple pages down. And in forms, it's the same thing here. In videos, it's the same thing here. And the reality is that visually looking through pages of assets will never be a quick answer to find what you're looking for. And there are solutions, and solutions depend on the way that you've named those assets. Search is your first solution, and categories is your second solution. If you use the magnifying glass to search for anything within any of the assets within your account, search returns what you named it. In this example, free highlights all of the forms, because I'm looking in forms, any of my forms that include the word free anywhere in the title of that form. Categories make this easy because we can very quickly choose our category and see all of the pages that are associated in that category. It's also worth noting that you can search within a category if you choose to search that way. And when you go to select assets from builders within Kartra, you need to rely on your names to find them because they're displayed alphabetically. Characters display first, like stars and exclamation points. Numbers display second, letters order third, and emojis fall in last. So if I was looking in my Kartra video library and I looked for my increased Kartrability videos, I can see that they're lined up in order. They all start with IK for increased Kartrability. Their numbers, their descriptions are the days that they were presented on and then the subject that they were presented on. It's the same for tags. You choose your category first and then your tag alphabetically. The exception here is that when you choose pages by site, and then all of your pages show in that site. So you skip the category selection when you're choosing pages. and all of your pages in that site display. So having them grouped alphabetically by what offer they are becomes incredibly helpful. Sequences also don't have a category selection when choosing them. You choose them alphabetically through all of your sequences. All right, I'm going to take a pause here. If you would like access to Get Kartra Organized that has all of this information in it, you can scan the QR code. I've seen that Kara and Grant have dropped it in the chat. But Grant, are there any questions at this point?
Yes, we do have one from Jennifer Sullivan. She asks, can you give examples of details versus descriptions?
Absolutely, and we're going to go there in just a bit.
Nice. And let me see if there's any other ones. I don't see another one at the moment, but if someone else, yeah, y'all feel free to drop any questions in the chat, and we'll make sure that Jessica gets to those. We'll have another Q&A as well.
Perfect. If there's no questions, I'll keep moving.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you, Jessica.
Awesome. So when it comes to naming your components, there are 8 strategies that I'm going to go over. I'm going to start with what I find to be the trickiest to understand its function, and I'll move into the easiest at the end. My intent of doing it this way is that by the end, you should be like, oh, that makes perfect sense. I'm going to start with lists, and lists and tags are something that I see get confused all the time. The clarifying piece is that lists are a way to group your leads by the marketing message that they receive from you. And it is super important to know that leads can see the lists that they are on, and they can unsubscribe from them. But leads should always be subscribed to a list to get communication from you. And you do not need a list for every action. You don't need a list for everyone that opted into your freebie. You don't need a list for everything that someone has done within your account. Keep your lists slim and use the fewest number of lists possible. When you go to name your list, you are given the option to name it twice. And this is super important because the name of your list is your internal name for your list. So for me, in my example, I use PR as the prefix for everything that falls into my business, Pineapple Relations, and this is the main list. This is where I send out newsletters. This is where everyone who comes onto my list goes. But that's not what I want people to see. So there's a second place for the public description. And this is what is so important when you name your list. Because people can see the list that they're on, they see the public description. And this is what they can unsubscribe from. This needs to be clear, concise, and easy to understand about the messages that you're delivering when someone is subscribed to this list. I like including a business name or your name here. So people are like, oh, I know that came from Jess. Every single email that you send from your Kartra account includes an unsubscribe and an edit details link at the bottom of the email. If your lead clicks on that, they go to a page that looks like this. This is an email that I sent to myself to pull this screen capture. It includes my details where the person can change their email and maybe their phone number, but it also includes a list of things that they're subscribed to. That includes lists that they're subscribed to, sequences that they're subscribed to, and calendars that they are subscribed to as well. The last thing we want is for someone to unsubscribe from something that might not be titled appropriately. I have seen a wild run of lists that are titled in a way that doesn't serve the audience that they receive. I've seen lists called non-buyers. I've seen a broadcast list from 3 years ago. And most recently, I've seen myself be subscribed to a list that was called the 2020 New Year's promotion. The fun thing about lists is that you can create lists and you can remove lists. So when you're done using them, you don't need to keep them anymore. And here I am signing your permission slips and saying that it is okay to go in and rename lists and the public description of your lists if you feel it is necessary. One of my favorite features about Kartra Assets is that you can rename the assets that you have within your account without affecting any of their functionality. All right, our next one is tags. Tags and lists have similarities, but also really big differences. And tags are a way to group leads by any action. That's the easiest way that I can say it. And the difference between tags and lists are your leads cannot see them and they cannot remove themselves from having one. Tags can also live in multiple categories. Tags have a way of getting a little wild and crazy because you think you want to create multiple tags and you end up with hundreds of tags. My advice here is that give tags for things that you will find helpful and resourceful in your business. Does every page view need a tag? That's for you to decide. Does every click from an email need a tag? Again, that's for you to decide. All of them are possible, but would you use them in the future is the question. And when you edit a tag or create a tag, you here again give this two names. The tag name that should use the prefix that you're placing this in, and then the description beside it. And you might think, well, if I'm creating a tag and I'm putting it in a category, why do I still need to include the prefix behind this? And I love that question. It's because that tag shows up in other places, like my lead card, where I can see that I've abandoned a cart, that I've booked a discovery call, and that I've opted in. But if those didn't include the prefix, I wouldn't really have any idea about what that tag was associated to. Tags also show up in the log of actions that people have taken within your account. If this tag just said purchased, I wouldn't know what this person had purchased aside from seeing it in the other steps that come through with it. And to answer the question that came in before, the tag description gives you 3 times as much space to explain what that tag is about. And I love that this is there because sometimes we do need a little more information about our tags, but the description isn't the searchable part. So we want to keep anything that's related to how we would look for this in the tag name and keep any supplementary information in the tag description. And then tags have the ability to go into any category that you want. And tags can even exist in multiple categories. So if you had a tag for a purchase of a program, you would want to put it in that program's tag category. But if you also kept a category for purchases, you would also want that same tag to go in your purchase category. And you can access and reference both from any of the categories that they're in. As we shift into images, this for me is such a big conversation because I have lots and lots of images in my account. And I'm sure you do too. Images can be added from the media page or from any of the builders throughout your Kartra account. But you can only add new categories from the media page and not from any of the builders. Keep that in mind. The way that images are displayed and held within Kartra changed in the summer of 2023, where we now have a media library. If your account is pre-summertime 2023, you've used 2 different media and image organization types or types within the Kartra account. So you might be in the same space that I am, is that you have lots of images that fall into this phantom no category image. And we're going to talk about that in just a second. When you add images from the media page, you're able to very quickly choose which category they belong in, and then you can bulk upload your files from here. When you upload your files, you can rename them from this bulk uploader and choose which category that they go into before they're added into your account, which saves a ton of time. The way that your images are displayed in your Kartra account are, again, newest at the top and oldest at the bottom, but they're still searchable and categorizable. And what you see when you have them is what kind of images it is, its name, the category it's in, and then there's a small preview of the image that you have here. It's different than the way that it appears in the builder. When you're using the builder gives you a visual drag and drop component. When you drag and drop images or a single image, you can bulk upload from here as well. The system automatically takes and keeps the name of the file that it had when it was on your computer before it came in. And it also automatically pops it into a no category in particular category. I encourage you here to stop and take the minute, because searching for images is my least favorite thing to do in the entire world, and rename that image and put it in the category that it belongs to. When you're searching for images in the builder view, you can visually sort them, visually see which images they are by choosing your category, and you can also search here by the words that were in the name of the title of your image. Categories that I like for images are things like this PR brand and then Jess. I know that these are professional photos that have been taken of me that I can use anywhere in my Kartra account. And I reference these and go back to these all the time. You can have I have categories for other people's logos, other people's headshots. I have a stock photos category, and then I have a stock-ish category. And the stock-ish term is something that my photographer turned me onto, of photos that are of me that don't include me that still represent my brand. I have a category for doodles where I put like arrows and drawings and things that I use throughout pages as well. When it comes to the way that your media has categories, a special note that images, audios, and files all share the same categories, but videos have categories of their own. We talked previously about a change that happened in the summer of 2023. This is me saying very loudly that you do not have to go back in and name and rename and categorize all of the photos that were in your account before this name. I have 1,046 photos that appear in this category, and if I'm letting them go, so can you. All right, videos. Kartra allows you to host your videos in Kartra and use them on pages and use them in memberships and use them outside of Kartra as you wish. From the video uploader, you can upload videos one at a time or in bulk. It is my recommendation, if you're uploading large videos, to only do those one at a time. If you're using the bulk uploader, videos keep their names from your computer, which is super cool. But if you're uploading a 1-by-1 video, you will have to give that video a name. I like to use numbers and letters to organize videos in the order that they should be presented in within your programs. Oftentimes programs have lots of videos. And let's say we have three modules that each have 7 videos in them. I would call the first one, the name of the program, and then in describing it, I would call it O1A for the first video, O1B for the second video, and so on, so they show up in order. Again, if you're uploading multiple videos, you have the option to edit the names in the categories before they go into your account. And again, my encouragement here is stop and take the minute and put your videos in the right categories and give them the proper names from the very beginning. Because you can search your videos by category and they all show up that are in that category. And when you get into the builders, they sort themselves alphabetically in order that they have been in alphabetical order. Excuse me. Pages and sites. There is a lot going on in pages and sites, and if your Kartra account looks anything like my account, my pages is nearing the hundreds. I think it's more than 100 pages in my account now, and I need to be able to find them very easily because searching for pages is the last thing that I want to do. So the way that sites are defined is sites are a grouping of pages that share similar properties. If you use sites, you can view all the pages in that site and easily see what you have in that site. The properties that sites share are all listed here, but they range from custom styles to headers and footers to the bottom bar and your help desk, among other things. These are assets and properties that can be easily exported or imported to other pages in the same site. So let's say you update your footer, everything's in the same site. You can super quickly update your footer and have it be applied to all pages or only the pages that you select. And within sites, your pages can then be grouped into categories. But remember, when you're choosing pages from other assets, you don't pick the category, you only pick the site to get started. And I like categories for grouping things by common themes, like your funnel or website pages or legal pages to keep everything nice and together. You can group them by funnel. And when you name your page, you're giving your page a name, you're choosing its category, you're choosing its page name, which for this example, we're going to use Get Kartra Organized, and it's the thank you page. It's the page that people go to once they register for access to the program. The category that it's going in is Get Kartra Organized, where all the pages for Get Kartra Organized live. And it's within my site for Pineapple Relations. And if you want to import the properties that you have for that site, click this toggle down here at the bottom. We already talked about it, but when you choose your page from other assets, like the product thank you page when people purchase, you choose it by site and then by the name of the page. And if we're talking about the way that you're naming your page, I want to take a pause here and make a note that if you name a page something and you don't have established SEO settings, your page name becomes your SEO page title, which then shows up in the tab in your browser when you share your page socially. So as a note, when I create a page and I name it what I intend to name it, I always make sure that I stop in settings and review the SEO page title to make sure that the page title is accurate, because I never want to share something that says sales page. I want to include either my name or the program name on that tab at the top. We're almost there. I've only got a couple more. I know this is a lot of information and I know it's coming really quickly. Next one that I want to talk about is sequences. And sequences are a way to deliver a series of actions based on someone's actions. And these can go from automations to emails to sending SMS to having different steps done. And these are all customizable based on what you need your business to do. I prefer sequences in an evergreen fashion, which means these are things that happen no matter when someone has taken these actions. And here too, just like in lists, leads can see what sequences they're in and they can unsubscribe from them. So here again, the name of your sequence and your public description are incredibly important. The name of your sequence should be named for you and your team, and it should be clear and easy to understand for future you. So here, this is the Get Kartra Organized registered welcome sequence. This is the sequence that goes out when you opt in for this program. This is internal. This is for my team. In my public description, I want to include welcome to Get Kartra Organized, and I included my name here. Because again, this is the information that people can see and people can unsubscribe from. could you imagine as a consumer who went to someone's opt-out page and it said abandoned cart, which has happened. So once again, I am signing that permission slip and saying I am giving you full permission to go in and rename the public descriptions of your sequences so they are on brand, they exude what the person is getting, and they're clear and super easy to understand. And again, Kartra makes it incredibly easy to rename assets without affecting any of the functionality of that asset. And broadcasts. This is a little one, and then we're almost there. Broadcasts are emails or SMS messages that are sent on a set day and at a set time. And the important thing to know is that once you've sent a broadcast, you can't edit it, access it, or delete it. You can go in and clone it though. And sometimes when I'm creating broadcasts for myself or for clients, they're not always ready to be scheduled when I'm creating them for the first time. So when I name my broadcasts, I include the prefix of where it belongs, what it is, and then my intended send date. Broadcasts make great uses for newsletters, for live launches, for reminders for upcoming events, to name a few use cases for broadcasts. And again, I use a year first, month second, and then date so I can see them visually and they can line up in order. And then the category that it belongs in so I can quickly find and reference this email if I need this email again. I started putting dates in the name of the broadcast because it shows up at the top of the email as I'm moving through the editor. A lot of times I'm creating emails before I'm ready to schedule them, and this date helps remind me of when I intended to send that email. So when I am ready to schedule it, it's right there and I don't have to think twice about what it was. It is all in the series of I don't want to work harder to get these assets and get these creative points out in my business. And as they're displayed, you see your internal names with the name, the description, and the date that it has been intended to send. And with most things, there are some exceptions. I'm going to give you a very few amount of exceptions with one really clear way to understand what those exceptions are. If your asset uses a Kartra default page, name that page the way that you would want it to appear to the public. And a Kartra default page is a page that you can't edit the material that's on the page. And I have a couple examples to make it really easy. The first one being memberships. The name of your membership is what appears in the tab, because while we can edit the content of the membership, the actual format of the page we can't change. It's the same for portals, where the name of your portal will appear in the tab at the top. It's the same for products. If you're using the product Kartra default page to check out on a product, it's also the way that your affiliated offers are organized within your affiliates portal. You want to make those easy for people to find. And then it also shows up in the help desk, where you can change the content of your help desk, but you don't have the edit ability on the help desk itself. And then two, for caution before we wrap this up today, calendars and surveys both have the ability to have their own Kartra default pages, but they also have the ability to be embedded within the program itself. I'm sorry, it's calendars, surveys, and videos, and I choose to not use the Kartra default page for videos internally, so I prefer to name them the way that I would want to, so that's my skip. And that pulls in everything I have for 8 essential strategies for organizing your Kartra account.
Very, very nice, Jessica. That was honestly so many pro tips in there, so many golden nuggets of information. So thank you so much. We have lots of great questions to kind of go over as well. And I just want to say too, even us at Kartra, we use the prefix section. We use Kartra. Kartra uses Kartra to write.
You have to.
Yeah, and exactly as you laid everything out, it is so helpful to get organized because once you do scale up, right? Once you start, you begin to become more of, yeah, even a multi-million-dollar businesses that are run on Kartra have to have that organization. So it's great to learn it now, put it into place, and you can scale effortlessly.
Absolutely. And these things for me have been like learned by doing and figuring out like how they work, the internal works of it, and then what works for me. And this is like, I showed off my account. Like this is how my account is organized, and it's how I'm now organizing client accounts.
Amazing. All right, so we'll kind of go over the Q&A, and feel free to continue to drop questions. I'll start from the previous questions first and kind of go down the list. So Uralis asks, should I add everyone to one list for my newsletter, even if they came from different sources like a webinar or a freebie?
I would if they know that that's what they're subscribing to. So for me, I like to have everybody on one list, and then I use tags for further segmenting. I keep my lists I have a main list that everyone goes on as long as they've opted in and they've agreed to it. And then I use lists for like a live event registration or a member of a current program. I don't have lots and lots of lists, and I don't want people subscribed to lots and lots of lists if it's unnecessary. But great question.
Yeah, good sound advice. All right, yeah, Uralis also asks, I've had people purchase via Stripe to use Klarna and manually input them. Is there a way to automate their access to a membership after they purchase on Stripe via Klarna? And then she goes on to clarify, I have to enter them manually now and add the tag, but it won't show how much they have spent with me.
Potentially there is a way to automate that between Kartra and Zapier. I have not done that exact process. I would say definitely maybe. Kartra won't be able to record the amount of money that they've spent with you organically, but what you in theory could do is when they come in, give them a tag that says name of the thing that they purchased, Stripe, and then have that tag set off a series of automations that does all of the other things that you would want it to do. But I'm not exactly familiar with that exact setup to say it with 100%.
Yeah, it's pretty specific. I would say post that question in our community, Uralis. I know you're in there too. So there might be people that have done that before, and you can always reach out to our support team. They wouldn't be able to know exactly the Klarna or Stripe side, but they might have some tips for inside the platform. All right, so then Jennifer Sullivan asks, what program prefix do you use for media that's used for multiple programs?
I would put that in a brand category.
Awesome. All right. Uralis also asks, how can you tell what size an image should be when using a template?
I usually pull the inspect panel and find out what size that image is, and then I recreate it from using the inspect panel. In Chrome, do I have a Chrome browser open? I know the shortcut to do it.
And two, I'll say this. So we are trying to work on a document to have all this in. I know our support agents, I've seen some tickets where they have a lot of this info. So if you wanted to email support and ask them like, how should I, what image sizes should I do here? Or should I compress images? Any of that kind of technical stuff, our support team should have some information as well for you.
Yeah, so if I were looking for it, like I would use on my Chrome browser, if you right click on the browser and click inspect, you can then hover over that image and it'll tell you what size it is. That would be my short answer for that one.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you for that. Yeah, and feel free to always let us know if, hey, we would love this article on the knowledge base, and we'll get our education specialist on that for sure. All right. So Michael says, is there a way to bulk edit or bulk categorize?
Only on an initial import from the media page. but not to edit, but no, not to edit bulk.
Gotcha. So yeah, right when you're first uploading everything, then you can upload everything into a specific category all at once. But then going backwards, not able to do that.
Yep. Future you, take the minute.
Yeah. All right. And then Vivica Hess asks, how to create a category for my media.
From the media library, when you choose the blue button at the bottom to import new, there'll be a tiny blue word that says category, manage categories. You would click on that, and that's where you can add the categories.
Perfect. And then Jennifer Sullivan asks, getting lost on pages and sites, can you show specific examples? Do you have this, maybe the slide with the sites again?
Yeah, let me. Sorry, there were a lot of slides.
And then as Jennifer, are you looking for examples as far as like how to categorize things too, or is there any specific thing you're looking for with the pages and sites?
So sites are like, think of like a site like your website. Like everything inside my site are all of the pages that I use within my business because they carry similar properties. The same headers, the same footers, the same custom code gets applied to all the pages within my site. That is one way to group those. Then categories are another way to group those independent of the sites that they're in. The pages themselves are independent of, they can be in any category and in any site. I don't know if that's any clearer. I don't have my account. I closed everything down to not have distractions. I don't have my account open.
No worries. We'll also, I'll have our moderator Kira try to find our knowledge base article that kind of goes over sites. It gives you the basics. There's some screenshots in there as well about what makes up a site, when would you use the site, and kind of help with that.
Yeah. So if you think about sites, like you should really only have, like if you had a site, a website for offer one, and it used blue and purple and white as its branding, and then you have a completely separate site that uses a different URL, a different set of color codes, and a different series of assets, different legal, different URLs, that's a different site than the first one. I hope that helps.
Yeah, absolutely. And typically, you know, as far as naming conventions, like, you know, like Jessica's site is Pineapple Relations. So you might name that entire site Pineapple Relations. Then you have the About Me page, you have the home page, you have maybe a Contact Me page within that, right?
Yeah, that's exactly what my site in my Kartra account is called Pineapple Relations.
Perfect. Alrighty, and then got a few more questions here. Let's see. Okay, so this one's, I can answer this. So Mattia asks, had some problems with the sequence. How can I easily connect one sequence to another one? Our support team will probably want to look into your account, Mattia, and make sure and see where the disconnection is. So if you want to reach out to our support team at support.kartra.com, where there's also a little blue help icon when you're logged into your account, you can chat with them, submit a ticket. I recommend adding a screenshot of what your issue is, and they can diagnose that for you. And then same advice. Let's see, Michael is asking what the best image size for full width email. I would also reach out to our support team because there may be different recommendations based on which HTML, you know, which kind of email there. I believe that's all the questions we have. Yeah, that's it. So Jessica, do you want to share the QR screen again?
Oh, yeah.
And I just want to thank everyone for being here so much. We put these on, like I said, once a month from Novice to Ninja. And so the replay will be coming here shortly. And we would love to have you guys in the community, if you haven't already, our Facebook community. And then Jessica gave some awesome freebies. So this is the QR code. The link is also in the chat, and I'll be sure to include the link with the replay email. Yeah, before we wrap up, is there anything you wanted to wrap up with, Jessica?
I mean, I encourage you and go forth and be strong but go back to the rules. Like, think of future you. Take the minute to do the thing that will save you so much time in the future, but also don't feel like you have to go back into the past to resolve things that are messy from the past. If you spend the time to find the thing from the past, take the time and fix it.
Very sound advice from somebody who was in Kartra from the beginning. Thank you so much, everybody, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you, Grant.
Bye.